on this video here, I'm gonna go over masking real quick. You know what? We'll use 20. We'll use this again. Be easier. 6. All right. So the other video I did, there is no audio, and some of those videos are just for me to place what I'm doing as far as my my project. So when I do put it on YouTube, you're basically just watching me. If it's like those 3 or 2 hour videos, it's me just working like I would normally work, playing around with different things and stuff like that. And if I think I'm doing something that may help somebody on YouTube, I just put the whole thing up. It's not really an edit. I do try to label them the best way I can. So let me, how do I want to do this? Alright, let me explain something really quickly here. When you're doing like a mask or something like that, and basically what it is, I was doing in the video, duplicate, and we'll just do this for an example. Okay, so say this is the outline of the face, which would be this technically, and the masking part is basically, we're basically taking a skin color, whatever skin color you want to use, alright, we'll just keep it like that. So basically what we're in MOHO, when you're masking, it's the purpose of it is to basically have cutouts and be able to create a face. So if we have this, we'll just pretend this is a face here. And what cutouts do we need, right? So we need one for the eyes, right? So technically that would be a cutout like so, right? So there we go. You know what? We'll do this the right way. Just duplicate this, edit, duplicate. Make sure I got that one. Okay, there we go. Forget sometimes I'm not using. Okay. I always do this. I forget that I'm this. You know what? Let's just Alright, so imagine this is the face, right? So of course we need eyes, but how does that work, right? So we have eyes. If this is the skin of your character, the eyes are going to go below the skin like so. Right, so let's make another eye. Right, there we go. What else do we need? Okay, well, we need eyelids, right? So when the character blinks, right? We'll just do this for now. So eyelids. Alright, so right. So if this is the face, right? The eyelids are going to be below below the face. Right? So still everything is going to be below the skin. Alright, so this is falling on top of the eyes, also behind the skin, and just like that, right? So this is the top of the face, right? Now on the noses, it's not really a big deal about noses because those can stay on top. And for my particular character, when we do the nose, edit, duplicate, there's transitions that happen along the way to the nose, right? So if we're starting out with a frontal facing character, alright, right, and we're transforming that character to a side view, right? This nose is gonna change from what this nose is to that. So let's say, for instance, let's create a duplicate. So there you go. So front facing character nose is going to be here, right? And when you have a puppet or you're creating a mask for a character, we'll just say for this one, the masking purpose is to allow you to have different stacks, like the skin on top. Then if you have shading, then you have eyeballs, then you have also the back of the eyeballs, right? So for instance, we have a square as a background. We'll make it red for no reason, right? So far we have our eyes that are going to go behind the face or the skin of the face, right? We have our eyelids that are going to also go behind, because when we close the eyes, like so, right? Also behind the face, right? So how many different things do we have hidden behind the face so far, right? So we have our eyes, of course. We have our eyelids, right? And the nose we don't need to worry about, because it's not going to have any kind of movement except for when the character moving its face. And this is just for 2D, mostly 2D animation. You don't have anything where the nose has to do anything super crazy, right? And the hard part, well, it's not really hard. The time consuming part of doing all of this is to have everything stacked the correct way. So if we have a character like we have here, right, and the background is showing through, we need to cover that, right? So if I create a white piece here, this needs to go all the way behind the eyes, the eyelids, and the face, right? Because without this, you can see through wherever the character was walking through, you just see the background, right? So that's why we have this here, like so, right? Next here, and people have a choice what they decide to do, we have a mouth, right? Now, normally, with the mouth, it'll start out with a line, right? A line, we'll just say maybe some lips, alright? So let's see, let's create a lip here really quickly. Alright, and usually this will be a line, but maybe not. Maybe your character, if it's a 2D character especially, they have a what they call a standard face, front facing standard face, right? Just the basic front view, right? And with the mouth, you have the ability to do a couple different things. Now, for 2D characters especially, you can put the mouth and have it placed on top, right? So if we have this basic standard character, right, and this is the neutral mouth, and you wanted to create duplicates of the mouth. Alright, so maybe we have a standard mouth. That we have like so. And then maybe you have a smile. Right? So you can have as many of these different mouth shapes, sizes that you like, and you have the ability to put that on top of everything, right? So if for instance, if you're using MOHO especially, and you have a switch layer, in that switch layer, what you're going to do is you're going to create a smile, a neutral, an excited, talking mouth, all these different variations of a mouth for your character, right? And you could put that right on top, right? You could put, I don't know, some people have 10 different mouth variations, just depends on what you're doing, right? That is an option to do it that way, put it on top. The other option is, and this is referring to MOHO as well, and let's make a little slit here, right? So instead of it going on top, like the example we went over, like the eyes, right? You could have a little space, just like we have a space for each eye, and you can hide everything below the face, right? So now, if you look at this changing as far as the character, you have those two steps for the mouth. There's other variations that people use, but that's usually, how you would do it, on top or behind. Now, if you're doing it behind, what do we need to do? We're going to have what? Teeth, right? And in some cases, some characters have top and bottom, right? So you have to have that, right? You're going to have a smile, just like if you were to put this smile on top, right? You're going to have to create a smile that is below everything, right? So for instance, smiling, you would just have a change of the outside of the mouth, right? And in some cases, if you really want to go crazy with this, you may, some cases, have some pieces of the mouth on the outside and also on the inside. So say for instance I have this little cartoon thing that they used to do, that cute little kind of like circle they would do on each side of the mouth, right? Sometimes neutral facing characters, sometimes not. It just depends, right? They have a little thing they do here, right? And what you can do different things, but this one, you have a space for the mouth, right? And usually what I would do here is let's go and edit the color here. right? So technically, this little face that we're creating here, there is no outline, right? So if we go to stroke and we want to create a outline, we have the ability to do that, right? And thickness, up to you. So if you want to make it larger, you have the ability to do that, right? So let's go ahead and put this back here. Right? And you don't have to do it this way. It's up to you. Right? So we have these our outlines now. Let's make this. Alright, so now we have outlines. Okay, right? So with the mouth, if we decide to, you want to have both, where you have some of the part is on the inside, right? And some are not. The other thing, right? So when you start putting in shading, and I'll use me for example, right? So if I needed shading to go below the eyes, right? Because unless your character's like a South Park character where it's just a flat one color kind of thing, right? To create those, and this is kind of leading into the example that I'm kind of going to go over here. Get stuff that's not moving around, right? So oh, because I didn't put the other part in. So the fill part. All right. So imagine the same thing, right? But you have to do shading. All right. So for me, when I do the shading, especially if it's around the eyes, like so, you can have the character and get it super close to the eyeball, as close as not eyeball, but the, I guess we'll call it the socket part of the eye, right? You can get that as close as possible. But if we're trying to do an overlapping kind of thing, right? So say for instance, you want the shading to come as close as possible, but you have the other option of taking the this white outline and putting it behind this, right? So it would be technically a stacking kind of thing, right? And let me use an example, right? So if I have the face and I decide to have the eyeballs not cut out but on top, like so, and then duplicate, right? So and so for eyes, if they're not cut out underneath, right, to where we know that this is behind the face, Alright, eyelids closed, eyelids open. Alright, so if I try to do shading here on the outside of the face, and especially the way I probably put in an example, right? So if we have an eye here, and I wanted to do shading, my way of doing it in that example, go back to that really quickly. So shade here. So if we look at the character, right? So I have shading. The shading is going to be below the eyes because I have this outline that I'm using to cover it. So if I have this so if I have that there, whatever shading I'm doing here is going to fall below the eye socket, which gives me cover, right? Same thing here, right? Behind this little piece. So I'm hiding my shading behind this eye socket, and when I do come back and fill this in or create say for let's get a background here. Let's create a basic one. All right, so now for this particular shading, which is going to go below the eye, okay, and we would do a separate piece for behind this. So the shading is going to be at the top, and then let's create another vector here. Why did I do that? Let's create a different shape. Edit, cut. Let's circle. Alright, there we go. So this white part is also hidden behind this small piece of the eye socket, right? So shading on top is not going to be affecting anything, and this white is not going to trail off on top of the shading because it's behind the black eye socket. So when we're talking about masking, let's see if I have. See if I have. I think I have an eyeball somewhere. Doesn't really matter for this one. So your eyes for your character do that. Also, below the, we'll use this on it, below the eye socket, right? So we have our white background piece, the eye socket that is covering here, and then the shading that's going to go in this area here. All of those things are going to be behind just this little piece here, right? So when we do get the skin, you have the ability to do either bring in the character without the so you have the ability to bring in the character without anything except for we don't need the eyebrows right now. Alright, there we go. So when your character comes into MOHO like so, right, you can either put a mouth or a slit here, or create your own mouth by doing a mask. And let's just pull this out here. And you can keep the shading, because technically the only thing you're going to keep separate, or things that you need to manipulate, are going to be the eyebrows, right? Let's put these in a group real quick. And we'll put EB1. Alright. So, and this is going to be before coloring center this thing. Alright, so you're not going to need to put pull anything except for the white part of the eye, right? And this part, that if you have a choice, you can do an eyelid, or it's on top or below. And usually I choose to do mine below. So let's get this back here where we had it. And this is ER, eyeball right. And this one is EL, eyeball left. And the same thing that we did on the left one would apply to this one as well. There we go. And eyeball left and right, we put that into a group together as well. So you create another group, put these inside like so. Want to center it to where it needs to be. There. Alright. Same thing that we did when we paired up the eyebrows. It's the same thing we did with the eyes here, right? So let's go and label these as well. This one technically is not a big deal. I usually keep those separate, but they all should be in the same layer, right? Check to make sure this pivot is correct. Yes, it is. Alright, so right now the pieces that are going to be separated we don't need to be looking at those. And I think that's the nose part. Yeah. Alright, so those should here. Alright. So if we're looking at the character here and you did not want to go and have these imported with this, usually I will import it as a PNG and then have all the shading inside, and then I would bring the character in with all the shading done and all the facial parts, colors done for the hair. So when I import this head, it should look like this. Alright, so just like this. The only other thing, which is up to you, recommend it, you have the ability to copy these eye sockets, which will help you with your doing head turns. So let me save this before, just be safe. And good. Alright, so if I'm importing it and I need to do a head turn, these eye sockets, I would not use the PNG for that. You know, I will import it as an NPG, meaning that this is all shade, it's colored, right? Shadings where I want it. Now, when I import this, and we're doing the head turn portion, you can still keep these as that PNG. So when you're doing the head turn, let's get this one out of the way here. And we just have this piece here. You know what, let's duplicate this just in case. We'll play around with the duplicated one. And I'll call this D2. Alright, so get rid of that. And play around with this one only. Alright, so if we have this here and the sockets are separate, we could still manipulate the sockets like so, right? So once your character, or you bring your character in like this, and you don't want to do the cutout, you have the ability to do a mask, and we'll go over that. So what would we do here? So if we have a, let's see, we'll create an action real quick. And we need to convert to a bone. And let's add. And you wouldn't do this for a head character. I'm just doing this to keep our pivot point, and then just to have the bones manipulated. So when I do this here, because that'll be a pivot point, you put one about here, like so, right where you think the nose will be. Right? Everything else, because you don't want to do anything that's gonna make this ear, you know, squishy or anything like that, right? So when I have this bone here, if I create a bone angled this way, and one here, like so, and let's go ahead and go back to, so for now we just have this pivot, and this is just for the example of where we're going to manipulate the head movement. So next one here, I want this to be in line, so I would select this here, right? And my next bone, we're just going to be parented by this one. We start doing the other part here, which goes right about where the forehead will be, like so. On these angles here, or the next bone, I have a bone that I add right about here. So when I want to manipulate the character where it's frowning, I have the ability to do that. But for this example, we're going to be just doing for the transformation of the head part here. So next bone, like so. Then next one here, like so. And then on the other side of it would be an angle. So basically I would put a, and we're just going to go to where that forehead will kind of end. So we're going to go up to this part here, like right there. Alright, so I think that's where we can get the other one up. So this will be pivoting in. It's been a while since I did this one. Okay, I remember. Alright, so, and if you're just manipulating it, it's going to be slightly changed there. We're going to add it off first before I do that. You're going to select the this bone here. Alright. Then I have one, it's going to go kind of like in an angle towards right where this corner piece is. So it should be there, like so. And then this one here, it's gonna kind of cut right with this bone here. So this one's gonna go all across like so. And then I'm gonna put a bone here. Now on this one, if your character doesn't have hair or anything like that, you don't really need to worry about anything. For this particular one, when we do this, the facial transition moving is, so basically it's moving inward this way, right? And then we're bringing this part as closer to a front view, right? So this particular character for me, when you see all of those different bones that I had in that other video, I just start making links, right? I don't really want to mess around too much with this part, because this is the part we're going to kind of bring in, tilt it in on the other side, right? So once we tilt this in, right, so for instance, it would kind of push these back part in, right? So once we push this back part in, my hair, technically, if this is the center of that face, that's where I will kind of be, it would be the middle of the forehead, right? So for me, and I know this part right about here is the middle of the forehead, I can have one here and go back like to that bone here. And then for this particular one, it's not really, I mean, the hair is moving somewhat in this character, but not a lot. And then I would have different pieces of how I want the hair to flow. So we'll just, for fun, we'll just click the other one right about there. All right. So the person that was confused why I was doing it this way is because you can go in and draw and create a moving action, but if your character has either, I don't know, some cases chewing something, or the forehead is changing, right? Just like it would be like if you see someone raise their eyebrows, their forehead kind of scrunches up, right? And then when people are frowning or angry, it squinches down a little bit. So those little small movements, right? So, and even with the eye socket part, right? So if we look at the eye socket, the way these are tilted in, when I told you I have a bone that I put here, that's exactly what that's for, right? Because in some cases, if you're looking at an eye socket, this can shrink down a little bit. It's not gonna, so if you're frowning, this is not gonna remain wide open like that, right? Now you can keep these separate, like I said before, and manipulate them in this fashion, right? Because even if you have an angle of someone looking down, once this face kind of scrunches up and everything like that, especially if you're turning, these change slightly, you know. So when you're doing that, I don't call it automated head turn, it looks very smooth the way it works when you're doing that kind of head turn. So doing it this way, it's not going to really look smooth like that, where it's just like a slow turn. When you have a character and they're doing, like I said, if it's different scenes, I want the ability to come back into the head or whichever head have set up and do it that way. Because if it's a head turn, that's just, we're just looking one way. It looks weird because then you have the character smoothly looking this way, and then when the character looks up, the face really doesn't transition, especially if it's a 2D thing, right? So you want to be able to manipulate everything. Alright, so let's go back to the bone part here really quick. And I think we got everything we wanted. So go back. I'm going to go this outline. No. Now let's go back. Select bone. You would select them all, and then for the particularly for this outline, I guess I can play around with it a little bit. So go to shift. We're not going to worry about this hair because the hair that I have on the switch later comes in and kind of messes with that up there. Oops, forget this. And you don't need as many bones, you can use less. Alright, so all of those except for the pivot point and then the hair at the top piece. And then this is our outline, and use the bone, use selected bone flex binding, and that's it for the outline. Make sure everything else is in place. Okay. So bringing this part in. Let's just say, bring it to 2 for now. And chewing would be this bone you can use for that. You can't kind of use this one, but you can use slight turns for this. And when you chew it, this doesn't move super crazy. You would reduce the bones. Let's reduce them now really quickly here. And you can manipulate these, bring them down or up, depending on what you want your face to do. And then I'm going to, after I finish this part of the video, I'm going to go over the masking part. A really easier breakdown. Don't have to worry about the hair because we didn't really, really. And you can reduce or bring these back depending on how you want, how much movement you want to do. So if I'm changing these here and I wanted to get the eye sockets involved, it would be what I call it. I call it the frown bone, which is not really, but it would be this bone here. And you could put another one above that eye, but we're not going to do that for now. So when we change these movements here, you can just have 3, 1 in the middle, 2. So another one coming down technically would be on that side. But on this one, I'm not doing that because we're just this. Don't need to do it for that side. It's the head turn. Right now, this is the center of the face. So the line will go from this chin all the way up here, right? That's the part we want to keep. The only thing we need to manipulate here is going to be bringing this eye to look like this one. So when we bring this over, or we manipulate this to make look at like it's turning, that's the angle that we're going to use, because this line here, right from where this ear starts and going up, right? So making a line from here. Let me put a little box there. Use it as a tool. Vector. And let's use a square. And let's make it yellow. So alright, so if I have all of the bones here, alright, so if we're looking at where this face will be turning to, if this is the center line, so this would be the center line. So this would be a little bit larger, meaning that this would get pushed out. This line here will get pushed out a little bit, but the eye would be moving inwards as this is getting pushed out. And the other part of the ear, you'll start to see that come in, right? So if this is the center line for the face, we go here for the center line, right? And right here is where that ear, this ear should get to the point right here where this angle will be, right? So if this is the center of the face, we'd be bringing this point and bringing this side of the head, mostly all of this is going to be brought in. So everything here is going to be pushed in. And that'll transition everything, the ear on that side, right? So then this eye will bring that slightly would move, but not much, because this technically should be kind of looking like the same, but a little bit shrunk, right? So the illusion you want to have is to have this remain like so, slightly turn it in, and then this one will kind of come in, but this is the line that you want to be using to make the head from this angle to the front facing one, right? So we don't need the rules anymore. Let's get these out of here. Like that. So let's go ahead and see if we can move some of this here. What did I? Oh, that was for chewing, just in case. Alright, cut. We don't need that there. Make sure that pivot point's in the same place. So when you start playing around with the face as far as how detailed or non-detailed the character is, and I want to kind of keep those separate. Alright, so when you start kind of playing around to see how you can kind of maneuver this, when you bring this, and this ear is going to be the only thing you could really kind of mess with, and you have the ability to keep this ear this way or have it separate, just like the eye sockets. But for this example, right, so if I'm starting to get to this point angle here, that's going to be what we're going to use. So when we tilt this in, sorry, wrong one. When we tilt this in, the illusion has to be that it's turning inward, right? So say kind of making it to this angle, right? So, and the ear's weird, but don't worry about that part. So if I'm bringing this in, right, because this is going to get thin here. So if I'm his head right now, it's looking weird, but we want to get to the point where we get to this angle here, like we measured before, and this ear part should kind of turn upwards, right? So if you, even if you didn't want to do it that way, and you want to change that, this is what probably would stop for me. Yeah, so that should stop for me there. Now, if you don't want to have this ear attached to the face, you have the ability to do that well. But, so if I'm bringing this up this way, right? So let's look at this angle. Now, if I, even if I do it slightly, and I want to move these slightly. So for here, for the end, I think it stopped. Yeah, it stopped there. All right. So if I bring this right about here, and I'm using this center line to kind of see what we're going to be at, right? So the only thing that has to be is somewhat subtle, right? Because right now it's close to where we want it, where this part would be, where the hair would be, right? Oh, messed that up. How did I do that? All right, so this part is technically right where you want it, because this is going to be manipulated into looking close to a, you know, one-dimensional or looking forward, right? Now, pushing the other one in here. Let's go back here. So we slightly move the socket, and don't worry about the ear for now. We can fix that. We start moving that here. Now, how does this change? So if I go here, right, and we want to get this close to what that looks like. So at that angle, you'll be bringing this over, right? And this part here, even if we're bringing this over, the only thing this line would do is stretch. Right, so bringing this over. So if this is the center line, and we keep making sure that's not there. So, alright, so that's not good. This back. Now this is kind of close to where we need it, right? So let's move it just a little bit more. And 2 is probably a little bit too close, but so when we manipulate that part and we kind of get it close to where we want it, and your shading should help too when you're doing this. So here it looks like it's pulling back. All right, this here will come down. That was the bone I missed. So the hair is doing exactly what we wanted to do. Right, it starts to look like it's hiding. Right, so when we get to the top here, let's see if I can do that other one. This 2 is probably too close for how many seconds. And then I go back to the bone here, and you can start manipulating this part here for the other angle. So if this starts to come in, and kind of straightening this piece here, right? So same thing on the other side. When this starts to come in, this part, when you start looking at the way it expands, should look identical to this. So this point would change slightly. All right, so if I'm putting this together and you had this eye here, what we can do is duplicate that one. Should I draw it? Yeah, let's draw it really quickly. So I'm going to trace this, and we don't need that many colors. Okay. All right. So all right, there we go. So when I'm looking at this and it's sliding back, we can make it look a little bit shorter coming in on that side, slightly, right? But if we're wanting to get here in the center part to bone, if we so if this side part here, you would still need to tuck that, so you could add a different bone for the ear. All right, so if we're using and turn in, the only other part would be this angle on the other side. All right, so even if I'm haven't had this pinned down, about there, about there. So when you're just doing that's the can't even speak, slight turn, you have to make sure those colors are going to change as well. So here, and all right, okay. So even if everything here is tucked for the, especially for the hair part, you have to make sure the shading here kind of gets a little bit darker when it gets in that area there, right? So all of this together. Okay. So your nose would do a slight adjustment as well. And we don't need this here. Cut. Just need it for the example. So on this one here, like I said, I would duplicate these, which I'm going to do here for this one. So I'm going to copy this one on the, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to not use this one at all. We're going to use these together. Duplicate. Just going to grab it all, didn't I? Alright, so get this out of here. So if we're going to bring the other side in, why is that looking like it doesn't? One second, that's looking weird. So duplicate. And did it again. Circle. All right, there we go. So if the center part's going to be here, so when we start moving the eye, there we go. So starting in, let's go to 4. Make sure these are centered. Right there, and do this back up. And duplicate this one. All right, there we go. So, starting from this point, and let's go to 4. All right, both of those were centered. So when we slide this in, especially when we had the way the hair was coming in the same way, we can start to move this one. So going in this direction should stop right there where the angle would be, and this one about there. This angle tight for the yellow. Alright, that's good enough. So you see that one, they have to be super in sync. Oh, I see. I see. Okay, this is bothering me. Let's start over and clear all of this out. Alright. So, going back to what we were doing here. And there's 4. Alright, so originally alright, there we go. So if we're bringing this right about there. And this one about there. Alright. So if we do go back to the bone part and we use the other piece here, there we go. So on the other part, you should make sure that the shading and then the top piece. So when you do trace the this facial outline, you'll do it the same way you did with the eye sockets, where it's the center part, and this would be manipulated. So if you, this point should be end up in the center. What's the other angle? And that would tuck this part in here, and then this part here would come in slightly. So let's see if we add one other piece to this. And then the bone you would have for the ear. So you can go ahead and, if you're not going to do, well, I'm not going to use this ear, but if you want to use this ear, say add one there, and then about there. So the ear part would make sure. So the ear. You want to get it up to where it's that angle, and then pushed a little slightly inward for that. All right. So whenever you do put all of those what was this? Oh, I see what I did. All the other bones went away. All right, that's okay. We went through the example. All right. So if you do decide to use this, the ear that's part of the face, you can. What I recommend on the ear part is you can keep this, like cut out small piece here, and keep it all separated from the other one that you're doing. And let's go back to what I was doing before. Go back here, there we go. And we're going to select these all, except for one or two. And this is the last one here. And kind of just playing around with this really quickly. Oh, forgot what I was doing. And add the bone. Right there. And this point, I didn't want to do that. Whatever you have the hair as far as the point, you could push that this in if the hair is separated from the actual head of the character. So if I go back, which one was it? Forgot that was there. Too many things open. All right. So we'll just put a small one here. And then we'll go back to this one. All right, that should be good there. And we're just gonna play around with the this real quick. 6:30 a.m. Almost time to go to bed. And just So when you don't have this hair separated, once you kind of bring it in, now for the hair, you wanted to kind of mess around with this, you can, to make it either straight or bring the centerpiece in. So if we're looking at these angles for the back of the head, if you wanted to put another one here, you could, but manipulating to this back part, and say you wanted to make a slight adjustment, you could do that with this, because technically it should look like the hair is turning as well. So it's not going to remain the same, right? So once we get to this part and we have that other angle of the face, even if you decide to do it the way we did it with the eye sockets on the other way, you can kind of keep those separate. So on the eye socket pieces, like I said, you can kind of draw and move them the way you want. Let's go ahead and group these because it's making me group. And there we go. Sure these are centered here. Okay. So even if you do end up getting to the other point, everything should stop when the head turns, right? So if you look at this is coming in, and we know this is our angle for the forehead, right? So if this is the angle for the forehead, when we push this in, this point technically should move that same way, because doing this whole part here, it's gonna look strange, right? So the only thing you need to do is move this line here, and everything here as far as a line will be moving over as it, it kind of turned in, because we need to be able to see this same pattern on this side, right? So if I'm looking at this, just this pattern, right about here, this piece, and this, you know what, let's go ahead and just make something real quick so you can kind of see. So let's create another vector. And this is not like the cleanup version. This is just me. Someone was asking about PNGs. So a lot of this, if you're doing like a regular project, you don't really need to do that. So if I have the layer here, I just make a circle. Doesn't really, or square. And of course you want it to be black. Alright, that's it. So if I'm bringing or changing the line, if I came on the other side and push this to here, what is it, 4? Right there, so everything should stop. So we're going to change that a little bit. There we go. So if we're moving these forward, if you have this hair set up at the top, let's add some more points to that. And adding points is just your the left button, and then you find where that outline is, like so. So if the starting point and we want to copy this. So there we go. If you wanted to copy this piece or match it up, and anything behind it doesn't matter because it's all the same color. Add more points here. And again, this would be all black. And if you need corners, all you have to do is use the lasso the points you want, and then go to draw, and then peak. And this is hidden, so there we go. So if I'm looking, let's put everything back. So if I'm looking at this point and we need to move it over, and you already have this outline for it in front of the head. Alright, so same thing we did with like moving on the bones. for the back of the head. And right, so we know that. Right there. So if we have this piece here and then we're bringing this part of the head in, let's just do it like we did before here. So now that we have this port here, and the only thing that's going to look weird here for a minute is going to be this ear, but and even whatever we do manipulate here, we'll just keep that same balance. Now if I'm looking at this from this point and I go here to this layer piece, whatever I decide to do here, along with the turn, and I'll show you that real quick here. And it's just the illusion of moving it slightly once we get to the other part. So if we have this one point, we know that it's going to catch our eye, which is that center point, right? Which technically would be here. This would be moving in. So once we bring this to this part here, right? Whatever we do to manipulate this, I can go here and so find that point. And wherever that point would be. So that's what we'll be using. And again, this we bring the center line in, but slightly making this changes just from that this little patch. It'll help with the illusion of it coming turning in. Right. So the only other thing here would be bringing the ear in. So for let's go ahead and bring it in the old-fashioned way. And we don't need that. What's the other one for? Let's do which one is this? How much? Shouldn't be there. Alright, so let's close some stuff out. Oh, I remember what that was. Okay. Flipping out. I thought I had one that I already cut pieces from. Yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and we'll just cut it from one of these here. Alright, so cut. So let's go ahead and use this piece. Alright, there we go. So edit. And we're gonna export this out. Let me see. What did I do with that other one? So let me. I think I did it on the. Alright, yeah. So let me import these here. Hair. Which one is this? Hair 3. And face, no ear. And let's put these in place real quick. So ear. So let me get everything here shrunken down. And remember, when you do the shading part, keep in mind that when you're kind of using the head to turn, it's the same way. This one is, which one is the face outline? Yep. And hair number 2. There we go. Alright, just for the example, we'll keep it like that. And then the face, no ear part. And again, this is for the person that was asking about the vector. Not vectors, but PNG. And get this close as possible. That's what it was. It was, I remember now. Because I wasn't going to use that, this front piece. Move some of these out of the way. That fit better than the other one. Alright, so, and this is just something I came up with because I did this something I did do something similar to this before because of the head turns adjustments. Most of the time when you're doing the head turns, most of the time you could just use the vector to move things along, not have a PNG that you're or bending around to make it kind of look like a head turn. So just remember that. Alright, closest we'll get it. So if we're looking at our original image, right, and remember that we did draw this little piece at the top, right, to modify it. So for the head turn part, if we're looking at it from that angle, you're going to basically be looking at, again, that center. This center line is where everything should be, like basically like cut in half, right, evenly on both sides, right. So whatever you measure from this point going up to the face to this side, whatever that transition is, that's what you're going to use on the opposite side, right. So if we're turning in, right, no longer looking at the side of the head, right. So this should be more looking like a king crown, where this is the hair is centered or even on both sides, right. So and again, remember when you're shading, that's going to make a difference as well. Thought we said to stop on 3. Does it keep going, or is it one stopping earlier? I think one stopping earlier. So 4 is the stop. Kind of right there is where I want to kind of get 3. Not really, because it keeps going a bit. You know what? We'll make it 3. Let's go through our outline and see what that is. And it stops 4. So let's move this over here. So same thing for this one. Okay, yeah, everything stops. Now, like I said before, if you are using your PNG, I'm not good with remembering these names. Start writing them down, but I do remember the question. So if you're modifying this way, you could do the tracing method, but the problem's here where this ear is, right? So if we no ear. All right. So if that transformation is happening, right, the ear is the only thing that's going to throw it off, because this line here should be pushed inward that way, right? You can't really do it the ear, and because it'll look really strange, right? So you can keep the ear separate. Look at the ear here. All right, and we're stopping here at 3. Okay, so the ear technically would do something like that, right? And your coloring scheme would have to change with the shadows as well. So if we have this here, right, and we did modify this top because we have this little piece here, which will make the illusion of the hair kind of change it, right? So if we're looking at it from an angle, we just have to remember to shade everything accordingly, so this looks, this, you know, dimensional kind of piece looks different from what this flat piece is. And you just have to really shade that correctly. So when you are doing this, the problem a lot of times it'll come up will be the eye socket part, right? So these angles kind of change a little bit, right? So if use the example of, as I used it before. Okay, so if we're looking at an angle, what is this for? What is that? What is, oh, sorry, flipping out, I forgot what that was supposed to go. Just finish this real quick here. Sorry, I had to fix this. I'll finish what we're doing here in 1 sec. 1 second. I'll mess with that later. So let's go back. Alright, enough of that. Alright, so back to what I was saying about the eyes. So if the eyes are at like an angle, right? So if we're looking at the way this is kind of angled, if we go back, so if this is our angle and we're trying to push this back to where it was, so if I'm looking at it from a point of view from straight, right, looks like that. We're looking at it from a point of view of like a side, kind of tilts in at that angle, right? So whenever you do bring this back in, these angles slightly change. So if, let's go back here, edit, undo scale. We're looking at it from this point of view, right? If we're looking at it from this angle, this in here should change as well, right? And technically, if you want to make this like a point or a point on the other end, but these angles would shift. The most important part is to make sure it does look flat, right? So this generally is not flat, right? You can see it kind of looks sort of pulled in by an angle. So that's when you would change the shape. So if I took this here, let's go trace, right, and we start playing around with these angles, you know, bringing them in or out, we make the adjustments so that it looks like it is flat, look straight ahead from what it did before, right? So flat, and you kind of play with it until you get to the point. Remember, the thing that's could also help you, move all this crap out of the way, is going to help you is when you do color this in. Let's go back here. When you do color, start coloring this in, you got to remember that the shading changes as well, right? So if we're looking at it from the side view, and then we start bringing it, touch this one. All right, so when we look at it from like that side view, and you know what, things are bothering me today. Okay, yep. There we go. And animation. Clear. Yes. So push back. Alright, there we go. So if we're looking at the shading on here at this part, right, this the angles change. So instead of this, there be shading on the side that you can't really visually see. That shading would basically go away. On this angle, we don't have to really worry about anything here, because if we look at the alright, so if we're looking at this angle, right, from the side view, this shadow would change on the side of this head. So if I'm bringing it in like that, right, and giving it the front view, all the shading here would be on the side of that headpiece, right? So if we keep up with this, you know, so we do have this point making a change, which kind of helps out with the turn, right? And if it delusion to make this point here go from this point and just making it look like it's moving inward, right? So anything that you are doing with the hair in like a PNG, and you don't have the ability to, or you don't want to put points on everything and just draw it from scratch, you can use the bones to kind of manipulate the shape and kind of help you with that. Alright, so on a different video I will go over the shading. That probably will be a better thing. When you're aligning these, this part is important too, right? Make these look as even as possible. And it does look weird, so I'm gonna flick. Right, so these here. And the template for the ear, it'll be the same way on this. So let's get rid of this outline here, and let's get this ear, and we'll duplicate it. And animation for the ear. So now if we are at a starting point, see here, so if this is rotating from the front, from where this ear is technically hidden behind the head, right? So if we're looking at this ear here, this ear should be hidden behind the head, right? So we'll put it on another one here, duplicate. Alright, so if this is the ear and this head is kind of turned pretty deep, you're not going to see that ear at all. Alright, the only thing you got to do is make sure you align it up with the other ear. So, okay. So this part here, I guess we can kind of play around with this one as well. So full face and we're going to go ahead and click the select bones, shift, and we're just going to associate this with the full face just to kind of play around with that a little bit. Alright, then use all bones. You select the bones for bone framing. There we go. Alright, so what did just happen? Oh. Strange. I thought we associate this with all the bones. Oh, I think I see what happened. All right, so when we're if we're looking at all these everything that's colored in, right, and we change that angle, this would change the shading in this area as well, right? So, and then with the ear, if we're stopping at this point, so the ear is behind this head. Alright, so the ear will be behind the head, right there, right? So if we're getting to this point where we want that angle where our face was, right, and we're looking at where that needs to be. Now we turn from that point to that point. Alright, so this end point should look like the other side from the same angle. So let's see if we can mess around with that a little bit. So starting points. I'll let it stick up just a tad bit there. And move it to here. And for the overlap, you can put it on. We're looking at it from the face outline part. When you color this in, this space should be gone, because this will be on top. So this ear, as far as the outline, will be on top of the colored in on top of the face, right? So if we're making that transition here, we get to this 3. These should look identical. And then our other hair 3 part would be the same, doing the same thing the ear did. So if we go and remember, hair 3 is this right here. Alright, so let's get this over where it needs to be. So if we're looking at the angle, and it'll be hidden behind that head, right? So for hair 3, and the same thing that you would be doing at the top, you can change this to a vector as well, and then make, you know, more changes there, right? So, but we're hiding behind that head. Sorry about that. It's an alarm for sleep. Most of the time I work on project stuff nocturnally. So if we're hiding the hair, right, which this should be behind before that angle. So if we just want these to be identical when it comes out. So this here forehead should be even from this point ear. Usually it's right at that angle. And again, this is for someone doing PNG kind of manipulations. So we're stopping at 3 here. And kind of keep playing around with it to kind of fix that forehead, right? So if we getting a little closer to that point, let's say right about there. And you can just keep playing around with it until you get it to the point where you kind of want it to be. This point here would maneuver in, so which is a lot easier to do. So if you're starting from this point here, this angle, and when you do have the head coming forward, this needs to be transition. On this one, you would just basically, you can use the points to maneuver it over. So as for this one, all right. So for this one, we're gonna trace this here. All right. So let's get the trace part in place here. You know what I forgot? We're gonna have to separate because there's gonna be more than one of these actual pieces. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. Yeah, thought so. When you do trace, it gives you more than one layer. So let's see which one we're going to use. This one, or we'll use this one, because we only need one really black outline. What is this one? How thick is that compared to this? This is thinner. Let's go with the thinner one here. It's pretty close to identical. Okay, yeah. Close enough. Let's get these other ones out of here. Delete. Yeah, I forgot, when you trace things, it makes more than one. Alright, so let's see here. Alright, so if we're stopping here at 3, and let's get our eyes here. And let's make sure we center this here. Edit, undo. Remember, we always make sure you get the center for the where it needs to be here, which is right at that angle. Edit, undo. Alright, so if we're looking at these points that we can manipulate, would be here as well. So if we, there we go. So those are our points, and that's our stopping point. All you have to do is lasso around the ones that you want to kind of manipulate, or you can do them one by one. And it would be here, so let's grab those, and we just want to tuck it near the ear part. Nope, wrong thing. I'm gonna grab all of them here to there. Okay. And the other ones you can play around with as you like. So if we go back here, it's a little bit better. And remember, now that we have traced the outline, we can manipulate these as well. So if we look at all of these points here, for me, I usually try to grab them all and do it that way, because I want this point to change from here to there, right? So grab all the ones I want to grab and pull this over like so till we get the right where we want those points to be. again, you can play around with it a little bit more, but this point, you want to make sure it's kind of sharp. So when you're manipulating the nodes, it's a little bit better. Alright, so stopping there. Remember the other ear. Is the one that I thought we did this ear. Did I not? Okay, maybe I did it. Alright, so this ear, remember, looks like this. And you want to kind of keep this angle correct. So let's go back here. And again, once you color these, everything else, this line will be underneath, so you won't be able to see that. So, and again, you can kind of keep messing around with it as you like. All right, so some ideas will be, shaping this up a little bit more. You don't want to change anything dramatically but the shading part. So, and getting that point here where we have that divide on the line. And if we go back to all the bones for the head, you can kind of play with these as well. So if the hair part should be on the other one there. Okay, so this is this one here. And for this little piece here, you can manipulate it by the head, but it may not be that necessary. Alright, so then whatever tuck you want to do here for the hair part, you can change this into a vector as well, because that may help you get it a lot closer. Yeah, like these little tucks. And then when you color everything in, especially, and this will go for the eyebrows as well, that we went over, right? So if we're starting from this point here for the eyebrows, just move this a couple face out of the way. Alright, so the eyebrows, same thing. So this would follow in. And the only thing we really need to manipulate would be this one here, right? So if we bring it all the way over where it needs to be, this part remains the same as far as the movement. Alright, so this would be the same. The only thing you should is just bring the other one out. So if it's looking from the side, and again, this will be kind of colored in, so it'll look a lot different here. So if you're pulling this part in, you only want to pull it from like this opposite side going towards this way, right? And of course the angle is off. So starting point would be here. And you can turn these as well. And that little adjustment you made, or I made, kind of messes it up as well, because it should stop with everything else, right? So get rid of that point, cut, and how close do we want it? So let's see, right up there. Good. On the other one, so there. So with the eyebrows back, so if we're looking at the eyebrows, we also want the eyebrows for that centerpiece, right? So if we're looking at the chin going straight ahead to the line where the separation should be, you can make the adjustments as such. So and you again keep playing with it until you get it to the point how you like it. But you can use the bones to manipulate without kind of drawing everything. And your shading when it comes to the hair, this looks weird because it's technically hit my head. So on the, I'll probably do another one where we do everything's already covered, and you'll kind of see what everything looks like. Well, because the coloring and shading and all that stuff will change. So again, manipulating the hair with the bones, like we did. Right, so, and once you have this all built out, you don't have to really build it again. So we'll manipulate some more here. Can do it that way. Even if you're using the stretch mode, you can do that as well for the hair if it doesn't get to the point where you want it. And the nose, we'll go over when we color the nose in. And remember, everything should stop at the same time, even if you're doing what I'm doing, playing around with the hair. So again, I was supposed to do this last piece here for one person who's asked me a question. They didn't really understand what was going on in the video. Alright, so we'll keep this here. Just save it for later. And if you need me to send those pieces, I can send it by email or the images. So let me go ahead and save this real quick. I think we did those. What did I? Oh, the chewing. I forgot. I'm kind of playing around with this character, but all these points and things like that were supposed to be for something else. Alright, we'll leave it there. So this other person, let's go to my channel. So when I'm doing these videos, I'm doing them to let you see what I'm actually doing when I'm actually settings here. Alright, so when I'm doing these videos, I'm doing them starting from the beginning of what I'm working on. And what I usually will do is, if there's something I've done in here to, or I'm thinking it'll help someone else, I put it up and I will put the information here. MOHO 14, 13, they're pretty much the same. Program tool masking, 4 easy steps, right? And when you're looking at this, what I'm going to do from now on is I'll put a timestamp so you can see exactly what's going on there, right? But these were never supposed to be kind of tutorials. It was supposed to be me kind of working on my project and getting it out there, right? That was the ultimate goal. So if we go all the way to the end, it's pretty, I can't remember how close. All right, so if I go from right about here, okay, Now, if we're looking at the steps, 4 easy steps, and I put them on the title page as well. Right, so what we did was we have the face, just like we were playing around with today, right? Go back to MOHO. Same thing we're doing here, right? And if we look at this on here, can't remember when it starts to, I think it's 121 is where I started going over that. Okay, it is. Alright, so if we look at this here at 119, and what I did was I removed everything from the head. So this technically would be the starting. So it's going over the mask part, and the full video is here. The video I did, or we just did today, it's gonna go behind that one, so that'll be uploaded today. Everything that I did on that one. So mask for face and eyes is what I'm going to be doing. And with the white background. Alright, so this one here, step 1, create the mask group. Alright, so let's do that real quick. Now we'll create a group layer like so. And create the mask group, reveal all. Alright, so let me go ahead and do that. Mask and reveal all. Alright. part 2. Alright, so part 2 is for the eyes. So let's do that. So we will come here and we'll just create another group. And create 2 eyes. So we'll do vector, and we can duplicate that. Well, let's make it the circle first. Alright, so just one, we'll make them black. And we will duplicate, so now we have 2. And they are inside their own layer here. Let's see. Alright, so mask this layer. That's basically what we're going to do. See, we have I1 and I2. One group and play here. Mask it. Alright. Alright, so if we looked at that, let's go back here for a second. For the eyes, just group both eyeballs, right? Alright, so let's make sure that right here looks identical to our template here. So let's go back, and we have these 2 here. Open it up, masking. Okay. No masking this group, mask the layer. Alright, so when we were setting up this face, I'm gonna put it, keep that right where it's at. All right, next one. We have a vector. All right, so white background. So the white background, right there. Alright, so with the white background, this masking part, clear the mask and add this layer to it. Alright, so I'm going to pause this here. Go back. And we're going to create a new vector here. And let's name it white background. Okay. And let's make it a circle, like so, right? Just like that. Now, when we did the masking for the instructions, right? So this is going to be inside of the mask layer, right? So a double click here, we'll check. All right, so that one I do believe said subtract from mask. Let's go and check it out again, just to make sure. So clear the mask and add this layer to it. All right, for that one. All right, so let's go back. Clear the mask and add this layer to it. All right, so click on that one, apply. All right, there we go. Let's go back. Alright, so I'm just typing in that third step, what we just did with the and here I'm trying to say I don't know how to spell group. It's not two O's, it's only one. So step 3 we're still on, so is the white background, right? Clear this mask and add this layer to it is what we did. So we did check that and make sure. And again, this is for mask for face and eyes with white background. Alright, so we got that one done. And I guess I'm blinking on that just to show. So we'll double check, clear the mask and add this layer to it. And the last part, pretty sure it's coming up. And this is our face, right? So part 4. Last is the face, I'm pretty sure. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay, whole face. Okay. All right, so let's go back here. We'll just pause that. And we need to create another vector. just name this one face, like so. Apply, and let's just make a, I don't know, a robot face, square, like so, right? And let's choose silver for the color. Now, you can't see it, right? And I do believe this goes below the face, like so. Alright, so this is the face, right? The white background for the eyes, which is this. And then 2 eyeballs, which is this. So just 4 things. Right? So we've already checked all of these as far as the masking part, right? So we did check this masking for the eyeballs. Okay, yep. Next one was the white background. And clear the mask and add this to it. Yep, we did that one. Last one is the face part. Alright, so let's go back to see what we do there. So the part 4 last is the whole face. That means that whatever your character's face is, just one piece. Go to masking and just add 2 masks is what it says here. Alright, so let's pause it here again. And let's go back. Okay. And check that. Okay, mask this layer. Alright. So let me go ahead and change something here. So if you have the eyeballs here like so, right? And we do have a mask. If you're looking at the white background, which is this, right? When we do a change, so let me change these real quick here, right? So if we're doing any kind of change as far as the masking part is, and we're looking at this white background, right? So if I double click on that, it's masking it, right? So technically be masking the other part of the face. So put these back in order, like so. White background. Now, if you think about what we are masking here, we're looking at the eyeballs. The white background is kind of protecting everything, right? So for each eyeball, you have 2 ways to do it. You can have this single, which you can make a another drawing here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, which may be easier for you. And we have these 2 pieces here, like so, right? You know what? I think I'm gonna make sure these are identical. So, okay. Now on the one, if this is the face, right? So this is your cover. Whenever you do the eyes, you don't have to worry about seeing them on top of anything, right? So if I want to move this around, and let's make a quick action here, and let's move the eyeball from down here to up here. All right. So that's how you're masking the eyeball. And this is the face that you would be using. And that's 4 simple steps there that you need to do. So if I go back, you can use this for different things as well, I meant to say. If I go back here, and we don't want to use this second one, just erase it. The only thing you need to have is this part here, the face, which was the face of my particular character. Right, so the face of my character, or your character, that's why you're setting up the mask. So the eyeballs are, it appears to be in the inside of the actual face, right? So let me go back here. So let me go to the person that asked me this question. Alright, so go to comments, and this is at, I'm thinking this is more Black Panther. Maybe I'm wrong. And you're like, what the F is all this for? What is the result? So if we go back to the example, and you go all the way down to the back, or the final part of the video, let's open it up real quick. This is the end result you should get once you've done all the masking part, right? Because we have the setup where we had the eyes behind the face, right? This is what the result would be. Now if I go back here, and we look at the way the eye is set up here, it's the same exact thing that my character was doing, but this is just like a robot face. So for instance, if this was a face and you had, I don't know, let's add a nose to that. Let's make it blue. Right, so whatever you do here as far as the face, get rid of this. We don't need that. Cut. Anything you're doing as far as the face. So this is the nose, and say we have a little line here for the mouth part. Alright, and these are eyes. So the result is the eyeballs are behind the face, and then the white background piece makes the eyeball visible. And that was all the 4 steps that you would have to do with the did I finish this other one? Yeah, I think I did. So let's find the piece that I used before. Okay, yeah. So when you import your face, you're gonna have a piece like this. And in MOHO, when you create the eyeballs, the masking part is set up to where the illusion is that the white pieces that sit on the back of the eyeball, you'll be able to move this without it overlapping on top of the face. Right, so that means if I go and bring these eyeballs down, technically there is no hole that's punched. Right, we just put a white dot on top. And if you look at the way I did it on the other one, my character, sometimes I will put a little slice on top, and then I'll hide the eyeballs behind it. So for instance, if I put a slice here like so, and alright, same thing's going on visually, except for one sits on top of your character's face, and then this one here, since the hole is there, it allows the eyeball to move in exactly the same way, but instead of you cutting a hole, you're masking this face layer to where it gives the illusion that it's doing the same thing. Right? So if we go back to the example, and we already did our masking, right? Because there's no hole punched in this face layer. Let's get all that other stuff out of the way. So if this is our face layer, our nose or mouth, there is no hole punched in this character, just a mask that stacks on top. So when we do bring in the eyeballs, 1 and 2, right? So when we bring in the eyeballs, it looks like this here, right? But without the masking, the eyeballs would just be on the outside of the head like so. without hiding. So white background, mask, right? Allows the eyeballs to hide behind your character's face with no issues. So when we do look at it and we move it around, do all these little different things with it, and it gives us that illusion that it's behind the head. So that's all it is. Alright, so hidden, mask, no mask, mask, no mask, white mask for this one. Alright, so those are there's two separate ways to kind of do that. So I'm gonna say it says at T'Challa 31 or at T'Challa 311. Not sure what this is. 5. When you say what the F is all this mess, or is the results? That's what I was putting up there for the video. The other thing is, never ever let anyone make you feel frustrated when it comes to any kind of tutorial where you're like, what the F? What you should do is this. You should be because I've done this before when I was at work a long time ago, when I was working on a project, and I've said this on other videos, but this is a different videos. What I usually do is set up or add to the script. So if a script or a writer came up with an idea, hey, let's have a scene where these two characters are in a kitchen, for instance, right? Things that I do is I set up, where are they sitting? What type of chair are they sitting on? What kind of tablecloth is there? What does the silverware look like? What do the plates look like? Are they gold? Is this a medieval type of description? Is it a modern description? Right? What goes along with that as well, it's not just me setting that up. It's how is the refrigerator reflection going to look when the character opens the refrigerator? If they're cooking, one character's cooking, is it a gas stove? Is it an electric stove? What kind of smoke is coming off of the whatever they're cooking? Is it a breakfast? Do we need to have a can of strawberries sitting on top of the dining table, the cloth table? Fork, silverware, what do those look like? That's basically what I do as far as working on a project. All of those ideas. And so when some writer writes, they're in the woods walking, the person that has to come up with what color are the leaves? What do the trees look like? How green do you want to make it? Is it in the summertime? Is it snowing? Is the what does the snow look like that's on the trees? Is it a planet that we recognize as far as Earth? What kind of plant life? All of those things. So we had a writer come in and write. I'm thinking it was like a scene for a kitchen. I might be forgetting this story. And we set it up. So we set up, most of the time, things that we've used before, we can use for different animations, right? So a lot of times you'll see that red and white cloth tabletop. People are used to seeing that. They identify that with a kitchen table cloth that people use, right? Silverware is going to be basic, like middle income families dining set, right? So plates, bowls, all of that, right? And when we start, or the animators start putting everything together, where's the camera going to scan to? Are we doing a scan of the room from the bottom of the table upwards? Are we looking at the light first and coming down? All of these things take a lot of time preparation. So when you're working on something like that, it's very, I would say, frustrating if a writer comes back and says, hey, we're not doing that anymore. You know what? Actually, it's going to be a picnic setting. Or, you know what? We're going to have this character do. But this is after you do all the preparation and the work. And if it's someone that is I would call a bigwig, someone with power, there's no, well, we've already done this work. They don't care. Right? So I remember when that happened to me, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. You're not going to say anything because this is how basically you eat. So you're not, and again, you don't make trouble on projects because what's the next project going to look? Hey, that guy there, he got mad because, big dude number one did XYZ, right? So there's a modifying behavior kind of thing that happens, especially when you're working with people that are very talented and you want to work with them because they're talented, and then they like your ideas, makes you feel good about it. So when this happened, I was like, hey, I can't stay here. I'm about to go like blow my top. So let me go away for a second and then come back. And I remember one of the it's a friend, but an art director came back, and I think he got a wind of what I was kind of doing when I left. And I'm outside, and I'm like, this, in my brain, I'm all kinds of different things going through my brain, right? And I'm down there, and he comes down. A friend of mine comes down there. He's like, I know you're flipping out. It's like, yeah, I'm flipping out. He said, you understand we're drawing pictures, right? Even if it's work, anything, right? For a living, you draw pictures, right? So everything should be fun. And from that point on, that's the way I started looking at everything. Okay, great. We made a change. But this is something that I've always wanted to do and I love doing. And it's as simple as that. I don't care what any kind of field you're in, sports, art, science, whatever it is. If you get to the point where you're irritated or something bothers you to that point, change the way you think about it. Change the way that you look at the outcome. So, and again, don't get frustrated by somebody that's putting up YouTube videos to try to kind of like help other people or put my work up there. It should never get you to the point where you should feel any kind of irritation. And I'm not saying this is anger, but WTF is, to me, reminds me of what I used to kind of think when I was first starting. And again, remember, we're just drawing pictures. That's all it is. It's supposed to be fun. So I apologize if the video that I put up, you didn't really understand it. So I hope this breakdown helps you going forward. Again, on YouTube, I appreciate you guys watching the videos. I don't care if there's 31 or what. When I go to when I go to the my studio here, and I don't know when was the first time I was playing around with this. Let's see if I can remember by going to the videos. Can't remember, but and 50. So let me go to the video, like so. There we go. Alright, perfect. Alright, then. So 2015, so 10 years. I didn't really start taking this seriously. I wish I would have took this seriously before. So when I first started doing these videos, I didn't really use it like a tutorial kind of thing. I was just putting up the artwork, right? So when I come to look at people paying attention to what I'm doing, and then, you know, back then you kind of link up with other people. So I really wish I would have started sooner. So if you're anyone that is an artist, start sooner, because 10 years ago, right, if I'm able to get 14 views and or subscribers in 28 days, in my brain I am multiplying those months. So if we look at the 14, and so if I look at the 14 in 30 days, right, and we have 12 months times, and we'll kind of, I don't know, we can round it down. 14, and then times 10 would be 1,680 subscribers if I would have started doing what I've been doing in these the last couple videos. So I appreciate everyone watching and subscribing, and I promise you guys will get a first look at everything that I'm doing as far as putting this out there. And we still do have the Global Animators Foundation. We're still working on that. We have something coming up where if you guys are interested in doing any voice work, and you know, like it's couple like things with a couple lines, you can get paid for that. If you want to inquire about that, you can send anything in the comments, or the ones that have the connection to that Instagram connection that we have set up, or you can just email at NIIIATREC at gmail.com. And again, I appreciate you videos, watching the videos, and you guys have a great rest of your day. It's my bedtime.